full of adventures. First, it was my luggage missing in transit. While trying to get over that, I slipped on my way back to the hotel room. As if that was not enough, I missed my flight back home.
So how did you pay for all those expenses?
I didn't. My insurance cover did.
Wow!
We get you insured from personal accident, total loss of checked-in baggage, or even flight delay. We don't give you any hassle when you have a need. We are always on hand to settle your claims quickly.
Are you blind? Is your retina injured? Are you blind? What? Can you see? Is the sun damage your eyeball? Is your retina injured? See?
What's your fault here?
You must be stupid! Okay. You must be very, very stupid! You must be very, very stupid!
Okay.
You must be very, very, very stupid! You must be very stupid! You must be very, very, very stupid! You must be very, very stupid!
Babe,
Yes,
it was super calm of you. Was that because I was there?
Well, partly, but honestly, because I'm covered with Prestige Motor Insurance. Look at, yeah, I don't need those big grandma.
Like, you're stupid. You're very stupid. You're very, very
That was
stupid.
just- I don't know.
Stupid. You're very... Babe, are we insured?
What are you waiting for? Visit www.prestigeassuranceplc.com.
Life is beautiful, especially when you're making the right choices. Life happened to me recently. I lost my job. But guess what? I didn't lose my income. With Prestige Salary Protection Shield, I get paid monthly my exact promised salary. Wow. The music stopped, but I didn't stop dancing. Isn't that amazing?
It is. It's 12:03.
right. A very good afternoon to you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this 51st Annual General Meeting of your company, Prestige Assurance. There are 10 items. Sorry? Don't forget, I am an academic, and so DNA requires that I stand. But thank you. There are 10 items on the agenda for the business before you today. Now, there will be an opportunity for questions on any motion, and I repeat, on any motion before a vote is taken on that motion. However, I would be grateful if, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we restrict ourselves to perhaps just one question per person on any motion that comes up. And it's also important that we are orderly, and so I crave your indulgence to raise your hand to indicate an intention to intervene, and also to then get approval from me as chairman before speaking. That way, we hopefully can get a very well orderly meeting. And then, of course, when it comes to voting, yes, we are aware that given the restrictions of COVID, there are distinguished shareholders who are joining us and other stakeholders, but there are distinguished shareholders who are joining us virtually, and arrangements have already been made to take account of to facilitate their voting. However, for those of you who are here, I'd crave your indulgence when it's time to vote to simply raise your right hand, and then that can be counted. Now, to ensure that we can all hear one another, there's a roving microphone that will go around, and if anybody has questions, comments, that way we can all hear each other. And I would also be grateful if those who are seconding or supporting motions or asking questions can speak audibly. And please, may I suggest that anybody who is making an intervention should introduce themselves by stating their names first. So this essentially is just a bit of a background. And so on that note, I now declare the meeting open today. Well, before we proceed, let me introduce to you members of the board of directors of your company. Well, even though he's absent and he will join us, he's late, not absent. He will join us shortly. Sir Olakunle Oyegunle, he's caught up in a bit of traffic, but he will join us as soon as he can. Mrs. Fumi Oyetuji, who is a non-executive director. Mr. Sabeswa Sahu, who is our managing director. Mr. Vadlamudi Raja, who is executive director. Well, even though he's named Mr. Gopalan Raghu, his tenure on the board came to an end, I think, in April. And so he was a director of your company for the year on which this meeting is focused, but he has now retired from the board. Mrs. Chidima Ibe Lewis is our acting company secretary. And lastly, I am Adedoyin Salami, and I have the privilege of chairing the board of your company. You're too kind. Well, before we move on, I crave your indulgence to convey the apologies for the absence of two other directors, Mr. Atul Sahai and also Mr. Ajande. Now, these are directors who represent New India Insurance. Now, similar to Mr. Raghu, Mr. Ajande, who served as a director in the year under reference, has since moved on to other responsibilities and is therefore no longer a director of your company. His replacement will be announced as soon as NICOM gives us approval. But Mr. Sahai cannot attend because, as I'm sure you know, the restrictions of COVID, especially the travel ban on people traveling into Nigeria from India, means that he is unable to attend. Of course, for the second year in a row, this meeting is holding in a slightly unusual form. The impact of COVID-19 and your company is clear and ensuring we make every effort to maintain or comply with the protocols, which mean that we cannot have, there's a limit of 50 persons who can attend. And so some of the people who we would ordinarily have invited are unable to be here. But let me take the opportunity to introduce our management team. Mr. Emmanuel Uluadari is present. Mrs. Patricia Jibrin Yaro is present. Mrs. Eunice Aino is also present, as is Mr. Michael Osazua. Right. So, with that done, let me then present to you the members of your audit committee, starting, of course, with the chairman, Engineer Olaiwola, M.O.T. Olaiwola. Then, also on your statutory audit committee is Mrs. A. Odushote. And then Mr. Adebayo Shikoni is a member of the audit committee. Now, we have, of course, our professional advisors and regulators also present here today. Let me start from our auditors, who are represented by Mr. Wale Anyoleye. Mr. Bonaventure Onwi represents the Nigeria Stock Exchange today. Mr. Ibrahim Abu represents the Securities and Exchange Commission. And Mr. Yaya Lawal represents our registrar's first registrar. I'm not sure, is there NICOM present? Oh, sorry, forgive me, my apologies. I didn't have that. Sorry, your name? Sorry? Mr. Ayo. Thank you. My apologies. So Mr. Ayo represents NICOM, who, as you know, are our regulators. So let me, having introduced those of us who are directors, our professional advisors, our regulators, and indeed members of our statutory audit committee, let me now call on our acting company secretary to read the notice by which this meeting is convened. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished shareholders, the board of directors, and I'm standing on existing protocol. Notice of 51st Annual General Meeting is hereby given that the 51st Annual General Meeting of Prestige Assurance PLC will hold at Radisson Blue Hotel, Anchorage, number 1A, Ozumba Mbadiwe Road, Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria, on Wednesday, 26th of May, 2021 at 12 noon to transact the following businesses. Ordinary business. 1, to receive the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and audit committee thereon. 2, to declare a dividend. 3, to re-elect directors that are retiring by rotation, which are Dr. Adedoyin Salami. 2, Mrs. Fumi Oyetunji. 4, to reappoint Messrs. Ernst & Young as the external auditors of the company. 5, to appoint Messrs. FITC as a consultant on board evaluation. 6, to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. 7, to disclose the remuneration of managers of the company. 8, to elect and re-elect members of the Statutory Audit Committee. Special business. 9, to fix the remuneration of directors. 10, to consider and, if thought fit, pass the following as special resolution. 10.1, that the directors be and are hereby authorized to raise additional capital of up to 3,373,719,056 naira only via the issuance of ordinary shares by way of private placement or public offer or right issue or merger and acquisition, or a combination of any of all these options at a price, terms, and conditions to be determined at the discretion of the directors after undertaking due diligence procedure and subject to regulatory approval. 10.2, subject to regulatory approval, the directors are hereby authorized to appoint such advisors and professional parties that they deem necessary upon such terms and conditions that the directors may deem appropriate regarding the aforementioned, and do all such acts as the directors may deem fit or incidental to effecting the above resolution, dated this 29th day of March 2021 by the order of the board. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Acting Company Secretary. Now, permit me to digress a bit. In the course of my introductions earlier, I should have mentioned one other person who has now retired. You will see on the notice that the notice was signed by Mr. Abayomi Odulano as Company Secretary. Let me crave the indulgence of the House to inform our audience that Mr. Odulano has since retired from the services of the company, and we already are missing his presence. Indeed, some of us were very happy to see him dressed up in suits this morning to be part of the Prestige family. Mr. Odulano, where is he? Oh, he's outside. Okay. Anyway, right. So back to our normal business. Before we proceed to, taking the individual items on the agenda, permit me to present to you the chairman's statement, which, if you... Okay, take it. Thank you very much indeed, madam. Can I ask... Can I take it that we have the support of the House to take it as read? All right, thank you very much indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, we come now to the first item, which is to consider the reports and accounts for the year 2020. So, copies of the reports and accounts for the period ended 31st December 2020 are now with you. And I would like to formally lay before this meeting the reports of the directors together with the profit and loss accounts for the year ended 31st December 2020 and the report of the auditors. I'm sure everybody has a copy of that. Now, so let me call on the representative of our external auditors to present their reports.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wale Anale. I'm representing the engagement partner. Independent Auditors Report. We have audited the financial statements of Prestige Assurance PLC, the company, set out on pages 28 to 118, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31 December 2020, and the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the statement of changes in equity, the statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory notes. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of Prestige Assurance PLC as at 31 December 2020 and of its financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards and the relevant provisions of Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the Insurance Act 2003, the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act Number 6, 2011. Basis of opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. Our responsibility under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the company in accordance with the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants Code of Ethics, for Professional Accountant, ISBA Code, and other independence requirements applicable to performing the audit of the company. We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the ISBA Code and in accordance with other ethical requirements applicable to performing the audit of the company. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Auditor's responsibility, that's on page 52. Our objective are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISA will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatement can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if individually or in aggregate they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decision of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. As part of our audit, in accordance with ISA, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial statement, whether due to error or fraud, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide the basis of our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omission, misrepresentation, or the override of internal control. We also obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstance, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the company's internal control. We also evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by the directors. We conclude on the appropriateness of the director's use of going concern basis of accounting and audit evidence obtained, whether a material or sanctity exists related to events or condition that may cast significant doubt on the company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the financial statement, or if such disclosures are inadequate to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the company to cease to continue as a going concern. Evaluate the overall presentation structure and content of the financial statement. Include disclosures and whether the financial statement represents the underlying transaction and event in a manner that achieves fair presentation. We communicate with the directors regarding, among other matters, the plan, scope, and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiency in internal control that we identify during our audit. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. In accordance with the requirement of 5th Schedule of Companies and Allied Matter Act 2020 and Section 28, subsection 2 of the Insurance Act, we confirm that we have obtained all the information and explanation which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. 2, in our opinion, proper books of account have been kept by the company insofar as it appears from our examination of those books. 3, the company's statement of financial position and statement of profits or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. 4, in our opinion, the financial statement have been prepared in accordance with the provision of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and Section 28, subsection 2 of Insurance Act 2003, so as to present fairly in all material respects the state of affairs and financial performance of the company. Contraventions. We are not aware of any penalty incurred in respect of contraventions of the requirement of certain sections of the National Insurance Commission's Operational Guidelines 2015 and the Financial Reporting Council Act number 6, 2011 during the financial year. Signed by Jamiu Olakison, FCA, for Ernst & Young, Lagos, Nigeria.
Right, thank you very much indeed. So let us now continue with this first item on the agenda. And in accordance with the provisions of Section 404 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, the Audit Committee members carried out their duties as required on the accounts for the year ended 31st December 2020. I now call on the chair of the Audit Committee, Engineer Olaiwola, to present the Audit Committee's report. Sorry, Engineer Olaiwola Tobu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
The report is on page 40. Report of the Audit and Compliance Committee. In accordance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, we have reviewed the audited financial statement of the company for the year ended 31st December 2020 and report as follows. The accounting and reporting policy of the company are consistent with legal requirements and agreed ethical practices, and also in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standard. The scope and planning of the external audit was adequate. The company maintained effective system of accounting and internal control during the year. Having reviewed the external auditor's findings and recommendations on management matters, we are satisfied with the management response thereon. Dated this 12th Nuruddin, Mrs. Olatunbosun Udushote, Mr. Muftau Olakunle Oyegunle, Mr. Gopalan Raghu, Mr. Abayomi Odulano, act as the company secretary. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm sure it will not have failed to attract your attention that the chair of our audit committee, his signature has £2 notes at the beginning there. So at least you are sure that your company's audit is in very safe hands. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, the board will be pleased to respond to comments or questions that you may have on the annual accounts. But, before we proceed, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 indications. So let us go row by row. So where's the roving microphone?
Thank you, Chairman, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Adeleke Oladimeji. We are so delighted to be here, and we are so happy with the performance of the company because looking at the difficult environment at which we operate and the issue of pandemic that happened last year, any company that still deem it fit to give out dividend, we should commend them. And I think it is highly commendable. Looking at the financials, everything, the indices here are all positive. Not only that, let me take you to page 147. Page 147 is our 5 years financial summary. And on the 5 years financial summary, I observed that under the year review, our shareholders' fund grew tremendously, and on this year, the total assets grew from 13 billion to 18 billion, and it means the company is growing. And also, looking at this agenda for the meeting, we still want to come and raise capital. I observed that last year there was a rights issue. I want to ask how far have we gone with the rights issue, and why are we still coming again this year to raise another capital? Also, on the agenda for the meeting, you talk about merger and acquisition. Acquisition, going by past experience with financial institutions, if you look at banks that have issues till today, that is a set of banks that merge and acquire other banks. I would like to advise the board to try their best, work hard, and let's look for where we can solicit for this fund so that the Prestige Assurance will stand as an entity. Merging with other companies that does not share the same vision and mission of the company will put us into a big mess in future. Till today, go and look at banks like GT, Zenith. They did not merge with any bank. That is what makes them to be performing. The banks that merge, a lot of them, they are still in that trouble that they fall into 10 years ago till today. So I'm advising the board that merger and acquisition, don't let us put it in our agenda. Also, on the issue of dividend, you are giving us 2.5 kobo dividend. It's commendable, but I would have loved it if you can round the dividend up to 3 kobo. Because, that 0.5 at the back of it is what it will be very, very hard to calculate that. We should have rounded the dividend up to 3 kobo. Also, let me take you to our page 91. Page 1991. Our expenses here under the year review is well managed. It shows prudency. It shows a company that wants to reduce costs. It shows a company that does not spend money anyhow. Page 90 and 91. The management expenses and maintenance expenses. Under the year review, our maintenance expenses go down drastically. Please, let us commend the company for that. Mostly, you see, when things like this happened, at least in this kind of environment that we have, when the turnover of the company increased, we expect some items here to also increase, but the company still stage manage it. And also, I would like us to take us to page 3, the result at glance. Under the result at glance, one thing that says insurance is claims. And as we are playing claims, we also have business to do. And another thing I would also like to advise the company is we should try as much as possible to be all states in this country. The insurance business and how we can also tap into online business, where people can just, from our websites, click on it, and they can easily do business with us without going to the office. We realize most things nowadays, people don't like to go out again. Right from your phone, you can dial star something, star 3, and your insurance, you can get your business done through that. These are my comments. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Right. Thank you very much. So the gentleman behind him, but may I crave the indulgence of distinguished shareholders that we make our comments brief and so that we can get along with the time. So please, sir.
Good afternoon all. My name is Erin Folami Gafal. My comment will be very brief. On page 3, I want to start by way of commendation for the board and management of the company, because our gross premium rating went up from 6 billion to 7 billion. Secondly, the net premium income also went up. However, we should watch interest income and other investment income. They went down marginally, so we should watch that one. Then number 3, I want to ask, what was our response to the advent of the pandemic last year? Because when I went through the chairman's statement, it was mentioning things like offensive and defensive business strategies that the company adopted. So can you assist us in highlighting them? Then lastly, what's the current status on our recapitalization? Thank you. The last one. I said, what's the current status on our recapitalization? Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors. I'm going to be very, very brief. My name is Oyenuga Adewale. Firstly, I will not repeat what others have said, but I really appreciate the company for giving value to shareholder by paying dividends. But the only area that I'm not so much comfortable, my chairman and the board, you said the dividend will be paid on the 28th. I want you to look at it if you can fast like the payment. And secondly, if you can round it up to 3 kobo, as my colleagues have said. But we really appreciate you because of the pandemic, and you can still pay dividends. God bless the company and God bless our management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The name is Adebayo Williams. Mr. Chairman, I'll choose to pick from your statement, sir. It is a joy to see directors at the end of their tenure retiring. At this junction, I want to thank the two directors that are leaving, our MD, Mr. Saho and Mr. Rahul, and wish them success in all other endeavors they might choose to enter. Mr. Chairman, today too, my concern is on page 85. It is a thing of joy to see that the retained earning increased slightly, but trade receivable grew. These are things we should watch, because the increase on the trade receivable might end up, if we don't watch it, might end up turning to greater. But, Mr. Chairman, on a good note, the result is a fine result. Today also, too, I want to commend this board. The corporate governance attendance at meeting is very, very commendable. From today, too, as most of us who are shareholders, I want to use this opportunity to welcome our acting company secretary. And from what I have seen, she's already adding value, because from page 155 to 187 on claimed dividends has shown that she's already prepared to face the challenge. From that page 155 to 187, I've been able to see some of our shareholders from our group and other groups too. Mr. Chairman, today too, in spite of this beautiful result, it is important too to face the future. And the future of this industry is raw competition. The banks have all entered this insurance business as new entrants. And they've entered with all the synergies of a bank. Without any gainsaying, every insurance company today must face the future, realizing that sales might, because the synergies of the banks will surely increase the new insurance company that they have created as subsidiaries. The big boys from South Africa are here, and they've been able to license. Definitely, the new thing we'll see in near future, even from this present moment, is sheer competition. Very swift one. You can imagine indigenous company competing with subsidiaries of banks as insurance companies. With that too, I want to implore this board, it is high time we equip Mr. Raja, who has great experience on training of marketers, to continue this good work. Give him every possible assistance, motivation, to continue training and retraining of marketers. Because the next level to face as an insurance company is hot competition. I will not deceive you. Don't let us be carried away with this fantastic result. But we are stepping into hot competition right from now on. Mr. Raja, you have what it takes. You have the experience in training of marketers. And we on this side too will implore you that you should not rest on your horse. The board too give you all necessary motivation to continue training marketers. Mr. Chairman, today, I remember vividly last year at the AGM, I informed this board of this development too. And to the glory of God, most of them have gotten success and are performing. So today, we'll look at this board to inform us, to address us, the steps that this board will take to face the swift competition we will continue to face. Thank you. God bless you.
Right. There is a question at the back there. Thank
you. Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. My name is Honorable G. Balogun. On page 24, can I go to the employment of disabled person? The disabled person, the company has no employment recorded as a disabled person. In this issue, I want the company by next year to see of these disabled people to be employed. Thank you very much.
Right. Distinguished shareholders, thank you very much for the comments made and also for the questions raised. I will share the responsibility of responding to some of these with our managing director, Mr. Sahu. But as I suppose, since I said as chairman, you should ask the questions I will answer. I think I will have to answer most of it, and he will answer one of them. Now, there are a couple of questions that are overlapping. So there are some questions around recapitalization. Yes, correctly. Background, and fortunately, NICOM's representative, Mr. Ayo, is in the audience. But the reason we came to the market last year was because of a NICOM-ordered recapitalization process. For us to retain our license as a general insurance company, we need to raise our capitalization to 10 billion naira. There is a separate requirement for life insurance and a different one for composite insurance companies. Now, in the course of last year, we did come to the market, and we must, the board, the management, thank those of you shareholders who provided support to us. As of today, we have a shareholding position of 6.62 billion. We are not yet at 10. But as I'm sure you will recall, the NICOM guidelines governing recapitalization sets two deadlines. The second deadline, which will be in September of this year, would mean by the first deadline, which was last year, we needed to cross 5 billion. We have done that very comfortably. And again, I must thank shareholders for their support of our effort. This, by September this year, we must attain to 10 billion. Yes, I'm sure you have heard and read all sorts of things in the news about challenges to the guidelines and the like, but that your board continues to work on the basis that that deadline is live. And so we will continue to work towards raising the additional 3 billion, slightly over 3 billion naira that needs to be raised. So that's the first thing. So in terms of what happened last year, we raised what we needed to do. We didn't get to 10 billion last year, but we have now, as I said, at 6.62 billion. So, and why we are raising additional is so that we can meet up with we can comply with the regulatory requirement that has been stipulated. Now, again, still talking on recapitalization, the point has been made, and the board notes that advice around mergers and acquisition as a way of meeting our recapitalization requirements. Your board will do what is in the best interest of your company. It would be unhelpful at this time to say to you, we will rule out any particular option for meeting that deadline. But we assure you, I am able to assure you on behalf of your board that we will ensure the safety, the security, and the prosperity. We will be guided by those three principles as we seek to raise the additional capital that is required. In terms of the question around dividends, I'm grateful to shareholders for their acknowledgement that even in a pandemic year, your company is able to pay dividends. Your company, because you are shareholders and it is we are at your service, that we are able to declare a dividend. Well, the Yorubas say, "Akosapu legun kowu." So, whilst I note the requirement that that figure should be 3 kobo instead of 2.5 kobo, well, may I crave your indulgence to first of all accept the 2.5 kobo, and then when we convene back here again next year, we will look for a way to acknowledge and do much better than than we have done this year. But I really would like to invite shareholders to please give a warm round of applause to our management. They have done a sterling job this year. The advice as to how we might make progress, especially the piece around our presence in all states of Nigeria, well, the company is doing its best, especially by establishing in some places micro offices, in other places additional branches, so that we have a footprint across Nigeria and are therefore able to do business in pretty much all parts. The point also is noted about competition and especially technology. Your company, and I will say this now, is currently working with KPMG to come up with a strategic document that charts our path to a destination 5 years from now. Your company aims to be one of the top 5 insurance companies within the next 5 years. We know that that is not that is beyond a stretch target, but it is a target that your board, working with the management of your company, will aim to deliver. And so things around technology, online presence, presence in other sectors or in sectors, greater presence in sectors such as oil and gas are part of the areas that we will be working in. I note from Mr. Jafar's question and comments, and I thank him for his indication or drawing our attention to interest income. We expect that this year, certainly that will be better because we anticipate that interest rates will be higher. One of the reasons why interest income was a bit, shall we say, underperformed was simply because interest rates have been low for pretty much the past 2 years. And so that is noted. I will invite Mr. Sahu in a minute to speak to our response to the pandemic. But again, I'm hoping that Mr. Jafar would have taken my comments on the status of recapitalization in answer to his question. Before I invite Mr. Sahu, let me also quickly deal with some of the other questions. The point that Mr. Oyenuga makes about dividend payments, well, I fully appreciate, but let me crave your indulgence to say that dividends will be paid in 2 days' time. And so there is not much that I can do today to bring that forward. So again, may I crave the indulgence of our shareholders to please bear with us, but the dividends, we have just another 48 hours to go before alerts are received accordingly. Now, again, the point, and I think Mr. Adebayo, in his comment, drew our attention to certainly two broad issues. One of them being the issues around trade receivables. And I think we will certainly note that, and we'll work towards keeping it under managed, ensuring that it is properly managed. But the point also to make is that at this time, we also have to be a bit more flexible in being able to attract business. There are times when we are needing to review and implement our strategy with a bit of flexibility. As for your point around the face of the future, we are very clear and we fully understand it, that the future is going to be very stiff competition, as you have said, but we are going to need a whole host of things. Not just do we need personnel who are well-trained, we will need technology, we will need a strategy that will drive and guide us as we move. And I cannot speak highly enough of the board and management's 5-year plan, which has now been completed working with KPMG. Indeed, implementation of that plan is now our next immediate phase, and we are hoping that by the time we gather here again in a year's time, some of the benefits of that new strategic plan will have begun to. Again, I really do thank you. And Honorable Balogun, I do note your question, your comments around employment of the disabled, and I am happy that the current head of HR, who is also acting company secretary, is here. They will review our employment framework to ensure that if there are any things in there that are restrictive of our ability to employ a wider range of persons, both with both able-bodied and managing disabilities, that will be dealt with accordingly. Now, before I close this out, let me invite Mr. Sahu to speak very briefly on some of the measures that were taken to deal with as part of our response to the pandemic. Mr. Sahu.
A very good afternoon to you all protocols observed. Thank you, Chairman, for giving me the opportunity. We are all aware that the entire world is still struggling with COVID-19 pandemic. We are, in Nigeria, we are a little bit better off now, but my home country is struggling heavily right now because of this COVID-19. If you recollect, in the beginning of 2020, the COVID-19 started penetrating to Nigeria, and it led to the total lockdown in the end of March and beginning of April. So first strategy Prestige adopted is to protect the defensive strategy, to protect our employees, to protect our assets, because our priority is our employees, our lives. Unless we survive, we cannot deliver the service. And during that period, we took special measures to ensure that all our employees are safe and healthy, are taking all precautions. And immediately we tried after that how to leverage this COVID pandemic to ensure our business continuity plan and how to generate more revenue out of this difficult situation. Prestige, being a totally automated, that means online-driven business strategy, we exploited that. Immediately, we had set our computer networks. We had given data to our all employees to work from home. We have purchased new laptops so that people can deliver the services. I should thank all of my employees and team members who responded, who worked over the night from home to deliver all the policies and settle claims. I must thank all the team members of Prestige for that. During the entire period of the COVID-19, we had never stopped our business. We had given policy on time. We had settled claims on time. We have, thank you. We have also paid the commission to the brokers and our salaries. Never it was stopped, not a single day. I heard during that COVID-19 period, many companies had restricted their salary, not paid their salary, but as a corporate, social responsible company, we never stopped it. We ensured that our employees not only healthy, safe, but also their children and family members are well paid and their expenses are taken care of. That was our defensive strategy. Still now we are also continuing that. The offensive strategy, what it was to leverage our IT infrastructure and to deliver the services. And because of that, despite the insurance industry in 2020 is contracted heavily, Prestige could register a gross premium growth of around 15%, a net premium growth of around 17%, and today you are all seeing, despite pandemic and negative GDP growth, negative industry growth, company is able to deliver at least, though not a big dividend, a small dividend to give us a satisfaction. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Right. Thank you very much indeed. Now, in the absence of any other questions, can I have someone move a motion for the adoption of the financial statements and accounts for the year 2020? Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Gafar, follow me. I move the motion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Can I have somebody support that motion?
I, Adewale Oyenuga, support the motion.
Okay, thank you. The motion has been proposed and been supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hand? Okay. Is anyone objecting to the motion? I hereby declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Right, to a very important matter that follows the adoption of the accounts. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to item 2 on the agenda, which is the declaration of a dividend. The board recommends a dividend of 2.5 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo, which will be subject to withholding tax at the appropriate rate. Will somebody rise and propose the motion?
I so propose. My name is Elijah Sarata Yabodi Balogun.
Thank you very much. Will somebody please rise to support the motion?
Aye. Support the motion.
Thank you very much, sir. The motion has been proposed and supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hand? Okay. Those against, please signify by raising your right hand. I hereby declare the motion has been carried. Thank you very much, shareholders. Ladies and gentlemen, I now move to the next item on the agenda, which is to re-elect directors. Please note that there was no resignation and there was no new appointment during the year under review. Okay. Right. At this meeting, 2 directors, myself, Doyin Salami, and Mrs. Fumi Oyetunji are retiring from the board in compliance with Section 285 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020. The same directors, being eligible, have offered themselves for re-election. Since I am standing for re-election, I hereby hand over proceedings to Sir Oyegunle.
Ladies and gentlemen, if it is your wish, we can, under Section 287 of Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, deal with re-election by single resolution to save time. Is that correct? Thank you very much. Will someone be willing to move the motion that the ratification by single resolution of all the elected directors be and is hereby approved? Sorry, your name?
I rise to move it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Will another person rise and second the motion?
I second the motion, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. The motion has been proposed and seconded. Will all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hands? Would anyone objecting to the motion please signify by raising his right hand? Thank you, sir. The motion is thereby unanimously carried. May I humbly request the shareholder on the floor to propose the motion for the re-election of Dr. Adedoyin Salami and Mrs. Funmi Oyetunji as directors of Prestige Assurance PSC. I will favor Alaja.
I so propose.
Thank you, Alaja. Any seconder?
I would like to second it, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare the motion carried. So, vote? No, it's unanimous. No, they said there's nobody against. That was done. Almost. Eh? It's in order. Chairman. Chairman. No, there's nobody against. But we still have to vote, even if there is no objection. Okay, fine. So please kindly indicate by raising up your right hand if you are in favor of the motion. No, the ladies are not with us, though. Hello, madam. Oh, they are not shareholders. Okay, I wouldn't know that. Okay, thank you very much. So, anybody against to indicate by raising up his hand? So the motion is unanimously carried. Do you still need proxy to do that? Thank you very much. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to sincerely thank you for the confidence you have in your board. Dr. Doyin Salami, you voted to return him as a director of the company, and I cannot but be pleased with that your decision, since he's doing a very, very good job for the company. And also Mrs. Funmi Oyetunji, I thank you for supporting the directors of the company. Thank you.
Well, dear shareholders, on behalf of Mrs. Oyetunji and myself, we both thank you for re-electing and ratifying our appointments to the board of your company. We pledge our total support and service to the company for the interest of all shareholders and stakeholders of our great company. So we go on to items 4. We move to the next item, which is item 4 on the agenda. Oh, sorry. Items 4 and 6, my apologies. And these items deal with the reappointment of Ernst & Young as auditors and fixing their remuneration. So, ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is to reappoint Ernst & Young as auditors and also to fix their remuneration. Under Section 4012 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, the retiring auditors, Ernst & Young, are reappointed. Section 408 of the Companies and Allied, Section 4081 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020 provides that their remuneration shall be fixed by the company in a general meeting or such manner as the company in general meeting may determine. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration and expenses of the auditors for the year ending 31st December 2021. So will somebody please rise to support that motion?
Thank you so much. I hereby support the motion. My name once again is Adeleke Oladimeji.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Are there any questions before we put this motion to the vote? Okay. So the motion has been properly proposed and supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hands, including all the proxy votes that are in the audience? Okay. Is anybody objecting to the motion? Please signify by raising your right hands. I hereby declare the motion to be carried. Item 5, the appointment of Messrs. FITC as the consultant on board evaluation. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item is the appointment of the Financial Institution Training Center as the consultants to undertake the task of our board evaluation. The National Insurance Commission released insurance industry corporate governance guidelines in 2021, mandating full compliance by insurance and reinsurance companies. Section 4 of these guidelines provide that there shall be an annual board performance evaluation to be carried out by an independent consultant to be appointed at the AGM. Will someone please rise to propose the motion that we appoint Messrs. FITC as consultant on board evaluation?
I, Honorable G. propose.
Thank you. Will somebody please rise to support?
I, Oyenuga Adewale, seconded the motion.
Thank you very much, sir. The motion has been proposed and duly supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hands? Okay. All right. Thank you. Would anybody objecting to the motion please signify by raising their right hand? All right. Thank you very much. So I hereby declare the motion carried. We then move to item 7, which is remuneration of managers, of the company's managers. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is the remuneration of managers. The Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020 has introduced a new business to the agenda of meetings such as these, and which is the remuneration of managers. Section 257 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020 provides that the compensation of managers of a company shall be disclosed to members of the company at the annual general meeting. The remuneration is stated in note 43, page 111 of the annual report and accounts. Will somebody rise and propose the motion on remuneration to remunerate the managers? To remunerate the managers of the company.
I rise to support it. The name is Adebayo Williams.
Thank you very much, sir. Will somebody rise to support?
I second the motion.
Right, thank you very much. So, again, the motion has been properly proposed and supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hand? All right, thank you very much. Would anybody objecting to the motion please signify by raising their right hand? Okay, in the absence of any objection, I hereby declare the motion duly carried. So we go to item 8, which deals with the re-election of members of the Audit Committee. The next item is election of members of the Audit Committee. The Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, Section 4043, provides that a maximum of 5 members of the Audit Committee, consisting of 2 non-executive directors and 3 representatives of the shareholders, be elected at an annual general meeting. The Act also provides for nominations to be received not later than 21 days before the date of holding the meeting in the case of representatives of the shareholders. Consequently, the Board of Directors has nominated the following 2 directors for election as members of the Audit Committee. Sir Olakunle Oyegunle and also Mrs. Fumi Oyetunji. The board has made valid nominations as required by Section 4043. There is no need for a vote on the 2 nominees from the board. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby elected members of the Audit Committee for the 2021 financial year. Will somebody please rise and propose that motion?
I, Oyenuga Adewale, I propose the motion.
Thank you very much. Will somebody please rise and support the motion, please?
I, Honorable Jiba, will support the motion.
Thank you very much, sir. The motion has been properly proposed and supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hand? All right, thank you very much. Would anybody objecting to the motion please signify by raising their right hand? Okay. In the absence of any objection, I hereby declare that motion carried. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 more seats to be filled in accordance with the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 on the Audit Committee. However, at the close of business on 7th April, 3 valid nominations were received by the Secretary from the public shareholders for election as members of the Audit Committee. The nominees are Engineer M.O.T. Olaiwola Tobun, Mrs. Odushote Anike Olatubosun, Mr. Shekoni Nuruddin Adebayo. Since there are 3 valid nominations as required by law, I move that the above representatives of the public shareholders be and are hereby elected as members of the Audit Committee for the 2021 financial year. Will somebody please rise? Alaja.
I rise to second the motion. My name is Alaja Sarata Iyabodi Balogun.
Thank you very much for proposing the motion. Will somebody please rise to support the motion?
I rise to support the motion. Adebayo Williams.
Thank you very much indeed. The motion has been proposed and properly supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hand? All right. Would anybody objecting to the motion please signify by raising their right hand? In the absence of any objections, I hereby declare the motion has been carried. Dear shareholders, please join me to congratulate members of the Audit Committee and wish them the best of in their service to the company. The chairman of the Statutory Audit Committee assures us that there will be lunch at an appropriate time. Now to the special business of this meeting. Item 9, the fixing of remuneration of the directors. The next item on the agenda is the approval of remuneration of the directors. The directors are proposing the sum of 3,300,000 naira per annum for the chairman and 2,200,000 naira per annum for each non-executive director. I hereby move that the remuneration of the chairman be 3,300,000 naira and the remuneration of the non-executive directors be 2,200,000 naira for the year ending 31st December 2021. Will somebody please rise to support this motion? Thank you very much. Your name?
I rise to support the motion. The name is Adebayo Williams.
Right. So, having proposed the motion and been properly seconded, would all those in favor of the motion please signify by raising their right hand? All right, thank you very much. Would anybody objecting to the motion please signify by raising their right hand? All right. In the absence of any objection, I hereby declare that motion is carried. Thank you very much, shareholders. So item 10, and this deals with raising additional capital. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to items 10, 1, and 2 on the agenda. And the first portion, that the directors be and are hereby authorized to raise additional capital of up to 3,373,719,056 naira, only via issuance of ordinary shares by way of private placement, public offer, rights issue, mergers and acquisition, or a combination of any of these options at a price on terms and conditions to be determined at the discretion of the directors after undertaking due diligence procedure and subject to requisite regulatory approvals. Secondly, subject to regulatory approval, the directors are hereby authorized to appoint such advisors and professional parties that they deem necessary upon such terms and conditions that the directors may deem appropriate regarding the aforementioned, and do all such acts as the directors may deem necessary or incidental to effecting the above resolution. Will somebody please rise to propose this motion?
Thank you, Chairman, once again. I hereby propose. My name is Adeleke Olatimeji.
Thank you very much, sir. Will somebody please rise to support the motion?
I, Oyenuga Adewale, rise to support the motion.
Thank you very much. The motion has been properly proposed and supported. Would all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hands? Right. Thank you very much. Would anybody objecting to the motion please signify by raising their right hand? In the absence of any objection, I hereby declare that this motion has been duly carried. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this meeting. On behalf of the directors, I would like to thank everyone, including those who joined us online through live streaming, for your valuable contributions, your support, and for showing interest in the affairs of your company. Please be informed that at this time, that as time is fast spent, your lunch is already packed for you to take away. It's both a matter of time and in keeping with COVID protocols. I hereby declare the meeting closed and thank you to everybody. The national anthem, please.
Honey. You're welcome, dear.
Thank you, darling.
Honey, how was your trip?
Full of adventures. First, it was my luggage missing in transit. While trying to get over that, I slipped on my way back to the hotel room. As if that was not enough, I missed my flight back home.
So how did you pay for all those expenses?
I didn't. My insurance cover did.
Wow.
We get you insured from personal accident, total loss of checked-in baggage, or even flight delay. We don't give you any hassle when you have a need. We are always on hand to settle your claims quickly.